If you want to get a good idea about how to engage with Muslims, you can watch Dr. Oakley 1689. Now there's a Christian here on YouTube. That man is sharp. He knows his ins and his outs about Christianity and about Islam. That is a smart man.
Kind of unbelievable abandonment of all meaningful standards of scholarship and fairness and discernment seems to be par for the course for Islamic apologists. Gentlemen, you would never survive a debate with real cross-examination. Let me ask, are there others? Okay. 3 more.
Well, a lot of it has been made of the Greek, and so it's very intriguing because that's the original language of the New Testament. And since I know that you all say that you're not Greek scholars, then I asked the one who is, Dr. White, could you elucidate a little bit more of the Greek that was brought up in the resurrection and deity? Well, he's been a speaker too.
So you don't want me to comment on the Greek? No, they don't want me to comment on the Greek. Believe me, they do not want me to comment on the Greek.
It is clear from the clip you realize this lady deems James White to be reliable, hence why she asks him. That's fair enough. I'm just asking, is the lady wise to go to James White for answers? Don't get me wrong, I'm not questioning whether James White knows Greek or not. I'm simply asking, is White reliable? Does White possess the relevant intellectual honesty and concern for accuracy that is required in order to be deemed reliable? Quite simply, can we trust White when it comes to Scripture? Is he really consistent with his methodology when it comes to the Quran and the Bible? Does he really care for accuracy? Well, he was put to the test. Let us see how he fared. We'll see a clip where James White invites his friend, his Arab Christian friend, to recite the first chapter from the Quran, Surah Al-Fatiha. Now, his friend makes a complete hash of it, and he misses a verse, thus rendering the rendition or recitation as not being a chapter or surah from the Quran, despite James White and his friend erroneously presenting it to be so.
You will hear it so many times, you know.
Right. And so it just becomes a part of the memory.
Yeah, yes. So if you like to say it.
But even though you haven't, well, sure, Surah Al-Fatiha, yes.
Yeah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين.
Initially, I just considered this to be a mistake on the part of James White and his friend, so I sent them a video response via YouTube, and I expected James White to do the scholarly just thing. I remove the material or correct it. That is what you would expect from somebody who values good scholarship, intellectual honesty, and respect,
of
right?
All meanings, kind of unbelievable abandonment of full standards of scholarship and fairness and discernment seems to be par for the course for
So
Islamic
what did
apology.
James White actually do when he saw my video response correcting him? Did he remove his material? Did he correct himself? No. To my shock, he unapproved my video response, censored it, so his Christian audience could not see it. I was shocked. Why would he do this? Furthermore, why would he keep that misinformation on his channel without even appending some sort of disclaimer to let his Christian audience know that what he is presenting to be Surah Al-Fatiha is not? This was shocking. So what he ended up doing was he knowingly was presenting misinformation to his Christian audience. This is far from intellectual honesty, right? So James White is continuing to misinform his Christian audience deliberately. He knows that clip is inaccurate, but he does not correct it. He does not even append some sort of disclaimer to let his Christian audience know of the mistake. He deliberately misinforms them. This is far from scholarly. This is a complete disconnection from any care for accuracy. Why is James White behaving in this way? Is it because of pride? Is it a case of the great James White cannot be corrected, cannot make a mistake? Or is it a case of hypocrisy?
Gentlemen, you would never survive a debate with real cross-examination with me.
If you want to be more blunt, you can use the word hypocritical. James White would never in a million years allow a Muslim, say Shabir Ali, to narrate the Gospel of Mark and knowingly miss verses out from it and present it to the Muslim audience as the complete Gospel of Mark. So why would James White do this to the Quran, present something that is not a chapter from the Quran as a chapter from the Quran? This is absolute hypocrisy. We know White would go berserk if Shabir Ali did this to the Gospel of Mark. As I showed in my previous video, James White supports Sam Shamoun's article in which Sam Shamoun could not find an authorized translation of the Quran which supported his argument. So what does Sam Shamoun do? He simply makes up his own Quranic translation for a Quranic verse. It gets worse because he does not even inform his Christian readers of such savagery. And what does James White think of this? Well, James White endorses, supports, and even links to the offending article by Sam Shamoun, and he describes it as, this is James White describing it as excellent Quranic insights. Now this is sheer hypocrisy, because we all know James White would never allow a Muslim to make up his or her own translation for a biblical verse. So why in the world does James White support Sam Shamoun when he starts making up his own Quranic translations? This is sheer hypocrisy and unscholarly to an extreme. When we take into account James White's misdemeanors, such as deliberately presenting misinformation on his YouTube channel for Christian audiences, his complete disregard for accuracy and consistency, as well as his support of unscholarly modes of practice when it comes to the Quran, then how do we know he will not transfer these ugly traits over to the Bible? So when we ask him questions concerning the Bible, can we really trust him? That is the question.
Full standards of scholarship and fairness and discernment seems to be par for the course for...
Well, he's been a speaker too.
So you don't want me to comment on the Greek? No, they don't want me to comment on the Greek. Believe me, they do not want me to comment on the Greek.
James White needs to explain himself. I invited him to do so previously in my previous YouTube video, but he remained silent. He has another opportunity, and he must know silence speaks volumes. So any silent response will only amplify these words.